Alright, this is a kind of like a Q&A video. I'm already getting questions on this, which is good, right? One of the first questions I got is, do I ever use soft hammerstones like limestone, sandstone? This is limestone and this is sandstone. And yeah, I do use them, but not for something like this. Okay, so the question was pertaining to this probably, right? Not just in general. Why don't I use soft hammerstones on something like this? Why do I insist on using, quartzite? Let's see. This is it right here. I use this one the most, I think, in the video. An odd-shaped, hard hammerstone made of quartzite. Well, I also use this type of hard hammerstone. Probably the main reason why I use hard hammerstones, other than the fact that they're very versatile, I own real ones that are quartzite and this purple quartzite. I own real ones that are like this. I don't own any real ones like this, but that show obvious signs of being used as a hammerstone. This hasn't been used yet, okay? There's plenty of limestone in the areas where I find these in Texas. Why don't they use this with an absence of these? There's plenty of limestone in Texas, but you see these being used. Why is that? That's because this is too weak for what I'm using it for, okay? Now, I was using a moose billet, right? In that last video on this piece. This was flat before I started the video, but now it's got depressions in it. It's got areas that were, see that, concavities in it now after just that one piece. So I lost about 1/8 of an inch because I'm going to have to grind it flat or a little bit rounded. I'm going to lose about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch for one piece. So if I make, let's say, 8 pieces, I'm going to lose at least a 1/2 inch off of this. This is stronger than this. Okay, this moose billet thing is stronger than the limestone. I would lose a lot more off the limestone. Now, why do some guys lose a lot off the limestone, or don't lose a lot off the limestone when they're using it? It's because they're peeling off very thin flakes. Okay, when you work with something like this and you want to make something like this, you can't be peeling off very thin flakes because you end up with a little almond. You don't get anywhere. You've got to hit it extremely hard to knock off those big thinning flakes. Even at stages like this where you've got a biface that's relatively thin, you still have to hit it extremely hard to get this thin down to about this stage. Limestone is not going to do it. It can do the finishing work when it's already this thin, but to get from this to this, you're going to need to remove large flakes. Why large flakes? Because the fewer the number of flakes you remove, the more of the width you can preserve. So that's the rule. The fewer the number of flakes you remove, the more width you can preserve. So this one lost a lot of width during the video because of this bite here. It took off maybe almost 3/4 of an inch just on that one strike. Very hard strike with the most delicate tool I was using at the time. So It's ironic, right, that I removed the biggest mistake flake with the supposedly the most delicate tool that I was using. Anyway, it's because I hit extremely hard, because that's what you need to do to thin these down. So the answer to the question, why don't I use the limestone and sandstone, is because they're too weak. They break up. And the proof I offered was because it even damages the moose skull. I don't know if you can find a more dense bone than moose skull. Maybe you can. All right, so also in the comments, a little bit about accuracy. My biggest challenge on accuracy are these right here. My readers, they mess with my depth perception. If you watch the guys that are extremely skilled at hammerstone work, they don't wear glasses. I don't know why that is. I do know why. All right, so I'm going to be working on this with natural tools until I can get it thin like this one. All right, hopefully, but it won't be as long or as wide. This I did with aluminum. This one I did with aluminum also. Same amount of time. This is a biface roughed out with the same amount of time as it took me to make this. I use aluminum on this one and the hammerstones and antler on this one. Okay, and it started off with a piece that big. All right, so now the piece that I made this from was, to be fair, wasn't that big, but it's similar. It's got a big fat square edge on it. Okay, I got nodules with big fat square edges. This one will allow me more width potentially, but it's easier to preserve the width with a metal like copper, steel, or aluminum. In this case, I'm going to be using aluminum on these. Okay, so you can see the difference. I can get a lot more width with something like aluminum. These are about the same thickness. Okay, but there's more width with a more efficient tool than the natural materials. Now, can I get something wide with natural materials? Yeah, it just takes a lot of practice and luck. Yep, luck plays a very important role in the creation of wide, thin pieces with natural tools. Why? The biggest reason is the tools themselves. These are not consistent. All right, the aluminum is perfectly consistent all the way through. These are not. And these wear down faster than the metals. So not only do they change in shape, they change in weight. They change in consistency. As this wears down, it becomes less and less dense. As this wears down, it becomes less and less heavy. It wears down faster than metals. Okay, so that's why there's more of a luck factor in making points and blades with natural tools. Okay, I am going to modify this one so I don't have this L shape. I'm going to cut that off and have it to be more straight, so I can do more of a inline strike instead of a side strike. I don't know how to explain it. You'll see in the videos. A couple other developments, or a couple other things I wanted to touch on. The wood splitting is going okay. I split this hickory off camera with stone tools, and I haven't gotten back to doing that yet. I'm going to be splitting this end on video. I already started to mess with it, but what you got to do is you've got to create a notch first before you can put your wedge in there and split it. Okay, that's the secret. You got to notch it first. Now if you've already got a natural split, you don't have to notch it first. Like this one here, this is the elm, piece of elm that I had in a previous video. It's been drying. It's a dead standing piece of elm. It's been drying and there's a split developing already here. This makes it a lot easier to continue the split. I can make 2 bows out of this by splitting down this split that's already starting. There's no damage to the outside. Since it's dead standing, it was already dry somewhat on the outside. It's the inside that had a lot of moisture, but if you allow it to split on its own, you can get a wedge in there. Same with the hickory. If this was green, if I chopped it down green and let it dry, it would develop a split down the middle. Okay, sometimes it'll split all through the ends, but as long as you have enough in the middle to work with, you're okay. Yeah, I have another item here. It's going to be my future sanding block. It's a piece of, it's not granite, it's some other stone here in Vermont. And what that allows me to do is grind my tools. All right. I'll probably put sand on here so it'll make it easier. Let's see. I think that's it for this video. I just want to keep it short, but I did want to answer those questions. I'm not going to be using these soft hammer stones. Unless someone can show me in the archaeological record a soft hammerstone in the same context as these large bifaces. Not in the same context with these little blades that I see other guys making on YouTube with this type of stuff. I want to see, or I'd like to see soft hammerstone in the same context as large blades, like I see with this type of hammerstone. This type of hammerstone is found with this type of blade, as far as I know. Okay, all right, that's it.